This is happening.
Let me just do what I love to.
No 9 to 5.
Eat that frog. You gotta work hard.
Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. This is Lifestyle Architecture Lab, and I'm your host Himanshu Sachdeva. Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Lifestyle Architecture Lab. In this show, I talk about lifestyle design, financial freedom, and also dissect the process, behavior, and routines of the personalities who have designed a lifestyle of freedom for themselves. These guests range from artists, musicians, entrepreneurs, lifestyle coaches, investors, professional athletes, etc. These conversations dig deep into their stories to find out their thought process, tools, strategies, and tricks that makes them tick. In this episode, I'm talking to Aditya Shroff, popularly known through his blog as the 5am Guy, who is also an author of the book The Best Life Ever. He's also a competitive runner and frequently gets podium positions in various running races. He leads quite a simple but interesting life at a farm in a village in Gujarat. After doing his engineering from Mumbai, he got a high-paying job in Germany, but eventually dropped that job and came back to India to work on his passion, which is writing. In this conversation, we cover a wide variety of topics: how he took the brave decision to drop the job and work on his passion and live on a farm, his creative process while writing the book, how he got the book published and even got a foreword from a celebrity who he didn't directly know, how someone who has a passion can convert it into a profession. All of this and much, much more in this episode. So without further ado, please enjoy this conversation with Aditya Shroff. Hey Aditya, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure as well. So there are a lot of directions where I want to go with this conversation, but let's start with one of your short stories,
Right.
which is The Little Things.
Correct.
Couple of years back, when I was reading one of your blog posts named Little Things, I started to love your writing and the storytelling style as well. So it was just a short story, but I could feel it that way. It was written from the heart. So
Right.
so that is why I started loving your writing style as well. And since then I've been following you, and I was happily surprised when I saw your first book, The Best Life Ever, published, which was published earlier this year, right?
Right.
And
In April.
yeah, now as we are recording this podcast, so your book has already become a bestseller. So congratulations for
Thank
that.
you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So, how has your journey from starting writing that short story, and now that you have written a book and published it, how has that journey been? Can you take us through your journey?
Sure. So I think nature is a wonderful teacher, and nobody teaches better than nature.
Yeah.
If you're perceptive to the little things that nature gives you. And for me, it's always been about the little things in life. I have always focused more on the little joys. I don't know, it's probably how I grew up. It's probably my upbringing, and I am thankful for it. But it's always such things that make me happy or make me sad. And I've always grown up with nature, grown up in nature, and grown up surrounded by nature. And so that's how it all started. I grew up on this farm. And to talk about this particular story, it happened, the little things, it was a story about a boy who was saving earthworms on the road.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful experience that I had, and somehow when I write something, it just makes me, think about it in a better way. It makes me analyze that particular beautiful instance which happened.
Right.
That's how I started writing, to get clarity from the experiences around me. Because again, it's just a very little thing. Getting clarity of thought, it's such a small thing, right, in life,
yeah.
but for me that is what matters a lot. And so I started writing about, so that was actually the second or the third story that I had written. And then by the time I was working on a blog that was called The 5 a.m. Guy. We'll probably talk about it later.
Yeah, sure.
So I happened to, publish it on that blog, and it happened to be picked up by 11 Asia, which is a Singapore-based magazine.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, a lifestyle magazine, and they asked me if I would be, willing to give the rights for them to publish the story. And I was delighted. I mean, I was obviously happy.
Yeah.
And so that's how the publishing scene started for me. And the story was really liked, and I went on to write. So every little experience that happened after that, I began to write about it, because it gave me, again, like I said, clarity of thought, made me a more grateful person. So I started writing little by little, and then a couple of friends told me that probably you can put all of this together in a book. And so the initial idea was to write 42 such real life stories.
All right.
To
Why 42?
I think a lot of runners would agree with the number 42, because it's 42
marathon.
kilometers of a full marathon. So one kilometer for each, one story for each kilometer. That was the initial idea. But then for a debut author like me, it would become a very big book, a fat book, like a 700-page book is not something that people would pick up, especially if it comes from a debut author whose name hasn't been heard yet.
Yeah.
So then the idea was to split it into two parts, like say a half marathon each.
Okay.
21 stories.
21.
Yes. And that was still coming out to a lot of, pages.
Bulk size.
Yeah, 350 pages. So then we further decided to pick 13 best out of the 21 stories. In fact, out of the 42 stories.
Okay.
And make a book. And The Best Life Ever is just that. It's a collection of 13 real life stories which I happen to live on the farm, running around on the farm, and life lessons from each of those wonderful experiences.
Wow. So can you describe when you were experiencing that? So in real life, you might have experienced that earthworm collecting boy, right?
Right.
So can you describe what happened exactly at that day, and how did it hit your heart and mind to write that story?
Just your question gives me goosebumps right now, because it was such a beautiful moment. See, when I am used to running at 5 in the morning.
Yeah,
That's
why the name of the blog is the 5 a.m. guy, of course.
Yeah. So so this particular day was extremely, rainy. There was a thunderstorm and it was pouring. It was literally, and especially, when you're in the countryside, you really feel the rain.
Yeah.
Because in the city,
it's hard rain.
Yes.
In city, it's not very hard.
City rain is absolutely different, and I think in Bombay or in a big city, you never really hear the thunder or see the lightning. And there
Rarely,
it is.
Yeah.
It's like the house is going to fall down today, and today is the last day for the house. It's that terrible.
Yeah.
It was such a terrible morning, and there was a thunderstorm, and so for me, it's just a pre-decided rule. I just have to go and run. Even if it's it's raining, it's winter, it's summer, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's how I have made myself to be.
But how do you keep yourself going at 5 a.m. every day? You have to, because I also sometimes I decide now on I will be going at 5 a.m. for a run,
right?
And then the next day I'm snoozing in and sleeping in. So what makes you get out of the bed?
It's probably a matter of habit. That's one thing. And when you when you're living so close to nature, you start working along those lines. You start following the rules that nature sets for you, because on the farm it's morning at 5 a.m. when it's bright, and it's night at 9 p.m. when it's dark, or probably earlier.
So you gotta sleep at that time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. So city life is obviously different. It's a little hard on somebody who wants to wake up at 5 in the morning. So that's. I don't blame you if you snooze off at 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just how things are in the countryside. So it was pouring, and it was just there was thunder and lightning, and I just decided I'll anyway go for a run. And the streets were empty. I mean, obviously there's nobody who's going to go out in such rain. And so I was just running, and the rain was pouring all over my head, and I was drenched in the first 2 minutes flat. And far in the distance on the road, I saw this young boy, and he was doing something. So since there was nobody else on the road, I was like, I mean, what is this boy doing here? Why is he here at this hour and at such a time when it's raining so much?
Yeah.
And I went closer to him, and he was collecting earthworms, because all along the road there were earthworms from the fields nearby,
Yeah.
flattened by the passing vehicles, and some were wriggling, trying to survive. And this boy, he was collecting earthworms and putting them back in the field, like one earthworm after the other on a stick, and it was pouring, and he was drenched, he was cold. And
Still he was on his job.
Yeah, he was just on his job. So I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Then he said, my mom told me, my mother always tells me, earthworms, they make the land fertile. So my father would have to work. So his father was a farmer, like a poor farmer. My father would have to work less harder, if the soil is fertile. If I put all the earthworms in the land, in the soil, it's going to make my soil fertile. And I almost laughed at him, because how many earthworms would he be able to save?
Yeah.
How much of a difference would he be able to make?
Right.
So I told him, they're like, hundreds and thousands of earthworms on this road. How many are you going to save? Like, you are such a small boy, and you'll probably spend the next whole week, but you won't be able to, make a
everyone.
difference to, all of the earthworms. And then he just tells me, yes, that's okay, but at least I saved this one, like this one earthworm that I'm saving right now. At least I made a difference to that particular earthworm. And I'm like, yes, that's such a huge thing. It's just for somebody like me, probably for anybody, it would be like, okay, there are just so many earthworms, why even bother? But for that one earthworm whose life was saved, it's such a huge thing, right? It's like a life being saved. So that really struck me, and it stayed with me for a long time. And then I just, thought I have to write about it, and that's what I did, because these are such simple and yet so, intense experiences that the countryside gives you, that the nature blesses you with, and you have to be perceptive to such beautiful instances and make your life better, because I think that's what this life is all about.
Wow. That's an amazing story. So
Yeah.
did you write immediately after that experience? I mean, the same day, or like
No,
did
no.
you wait for some time and then it came to you that I have to write this?
Yeah, so the instance kept playing over and over in my head, and I went and told my mother about it. I went and told my friends about it. And because I was so influenced by that, that incident, and a couple of days later, probably, I think, I just, thought I really want to write about it, and that's what I did.
Yeah, so that was the turning point. From there you started, right?
Could be, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So I actually, before that, I had written a little bit about how running is on the farm, but I think what the book is about, like what The Best Life Ever is about, is essentially such incidents which I happened to live through. So I think this was one of the first stories which happened in my life, one of the first incidents that I lived through and I wrote about. So
Yeah. So this particular story is also in the book, is it?
No, it's not in the book,
Yeah.
because it has been published already by 11 Asia.
Yeah. So yeah, of course. So the rights are with them, so you could not publish
Right,
that.
right,
Otherwise, you would have probably.
I would have, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It is one of the nicest stories that I have lived through.
Wow, that's amazing. And I finished one chapter of your book also. Like,
Oh, you did?
in the last week, I bought the book
Okay,
and then I read first chapter, and I'm
Okay.
going through it and I'm enjoying it. I'm like taking it slow to read the stories.
I think that's The Best Life Ever is best read at your own pace.
Yeah.
in leisure, and you don't have to have an aim of finishing it in 2 days because that's not fun.
Yeah, and it is pretty visual the way you have written the book.
Yeah.
The first chapter itself, when I was reading the first page itself, I had to visualize that, because you are telling the story from the first person perspective, and
Yes.
you are writing as if you are living the moment.
Yes, right.
So that's why I was able to visualize it, and you have written the lady with whom you were
Yeah,
living.
the host, right.
Yeah, the host, and she has given you the map, and I was able to
Correct.
visualize the map, and
Right.
she has written go left, and so
Right, right.
she has given the direction. So it was really great how visually you have
Yeah, so
tried
you-
to conceptualize the book and written
So
it.
you've been a good reader, because that's essentially what I wanted while I was writing, that the reader should be me, like as if the reader is living through what I am trying to explain. The reader should be in my shoes at that point of time.
It felt like these days on Instagram there are videos which are called POVs, like
Right.
point of view videos.
Right,
So
right.
a
Yes.
person is like running with the camera, and
Correct.
you are able to feel that you are that person who is
Correct,
running around the
correct.
mountains or
Yes,
something like
yes.
that. So it's the same experience which your writing has
Right,
given.
right. I'm glad it worked.
Yeah, and also your book had a forward from Milind Soman,
Right.
who is the international supermodel and
Right,
also
right.
legendary
Yeah,
in the locals for
correct,
running and the
correct.
running community.
Right.
So how did you get hold of him to write the forward? Do you know him personally, or how was it like to get the forward
Right.
from
So
him?
I didn't know him personally until the time I approached him for the forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was writing, it was first for myself. It was essentially for myself. But I realized if it has to reach some people, I have to, take help of some channel such as forward from a celebrity.
Yeah.
Because obviously, I mean, I would really like it if more people get inspired by stories that I got inspired by. They're not my stories, because they've been blessed. I've been blessed by nature to live such experiences, and I'm grateful for that. But I would also like other people to get blessed with such experiences, and I wanted the book to reach as many people as possible. And so I decided to approach some celebrity or some influential person who could provide a better channel for the book to get publicized.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so then Milind Soman was the first person who came to my mind, because he's himself a very ardent runner.
Yeah.
And he's very well versed in the running community, and these stories are all essentially around running. Yeah, so getting to him was a big, I would say, challenge. So I sent the manuscript to him first for him to go through, but as you know, celebrities, they hardly have time to interact with individuals. So obviously he didn't get back to me, and he probably didn't
Yeah.
have time to read through it. And then this was with through a contact who knew him personally.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided I'll probably send him a voice message requesting him to write the forward, and send him just one chapter of the book.
Yeah.
So if he likes that chapter, he'd probably agree to write the forward. So that's when I sent him a little voice message, requesting him to help me out, and telling him essentially what the book is about, and
Yeah.
why I wanted to reach people,
Yeah.
and why I want people to get inspired by it.
Right.
And I sent the first chapter along with it, and this is exactly what he said. What he told me, that you could actually visualize the entire
Yeah.
event, the flow of events, the situation that you were in while reading. That was exactly what he told me, and then he really liked it, and he said, "Okay, sure, I'll write the forward for the book." And yeah, so that's how it happened.
Wow.
And everything in the universe just falls into place, and somehow something or the other works out.
Yeah. So the crux is never settle until you
that's
get
right.
there.
That's right. Yes. Just
Wow.
make a decision and decide what you want, and you'll get it. That's what I believe in.
Wow, that's amazing. So, apart from being a young writer, you have chosen a very different life path. As from academic perspective, you are an engineer, but you chose to give up a lucrative job and came back from Germany to live your life in a farm basically, or a village. So being close to nature and doing farming as well, what made you make that decision and choice? And how do you put your engineering skills at work now?
Right. So I have always grown up on this farm that I live on.
Mm-hmm.
It's ancestral land, and that's where I've always grown up, running around the fields and feasting on farm fresh fruits,
Wow.
chasing cows and goats. That's how my childhood has been, and that's how I've grown up. That's how I have been molded into the person that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously life happens and you have to find a career path, and for that I moved to Bombay after my school. I after 10th standard I moved to Bombay,
Okay.
and then I did my engineering in Bombay from the Mumbai University.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did, so in the meanwhile I was learning German and I wanted to put it to use, and that along with my engineering skills,
Wow. So you know English as well as German as well. Any other language you know?
apart from the Indian languages obviously. So,
So being a polymath. Wow.
so then I got a chance to do an internship in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
and after the internship, that was during my engineering days, and
All
then
right.
they liked my work and they offered me a job after I was done with college,
Mm-hmm.
which I took up initially, and I was working there and I realized all I'm doing in life is working and trying to make money, and this is just what I don't want. I mean, it's not. It's very cliche. It's so cliched. I don't even want to say it. It's,
Yeah.
because everyone says life is not just about money.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have to say it because that's how I felt, and I wasn't really growing as a person, as a human being.
In the 9 to 5 job.
Yes, and one engineer like thousands of others,
Yeah.
and there was no fun in life,
Mhm.
and that wasn't really what I was looking forward to. And this I wouldn't really say, but one of the reasons why I decided to leave Germany was there was very little sun,
Oh,
and
it's very cold in Germany, right?
yes,
All
and
the
most
time.
of the times it's cloudy and grey and
Gloomy
that's-
weather.
Yeah, because I am a very, India has sunny weather almost throughout the year except the monsoon months, and when you're on a farm, you experience that a lot,
Yeah.
and that does play a lot of, it has a huge impact on.
How you feel and how you physically
Absolutely.
feel or emotionally feel
Right,
as well.
right. So that was one aspect also, but yeah, the main reason why I decided to move back was this, that I wasn't really living life. I was just sort of surviving
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to make as much money as possible.
Right.
And I realized I was wasting the most youthful years of my life doing something that was avoidable.
Mhm.
Because I think everyone who probably is listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
they have secured food on their plate at least.
Right.
They have a roof over their head. They have clothes on their body, and if you are still after something so crazily,
Mhm.
I mean, it's obviously important to make money, but at the expense of not living a life, it's something crazy. It's something that is lethal. So I gave it a lot of thought, and then it wasn't one fine day, but over a couple of weeks, I decided, okay, this is it. I'm just moving back to the farm, and because that is the life that is going to make me grow as a person,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll probably not earn as much, but I'll be happier. That's what I thought.
So sorry to cut you here. So you came up with a very interesting thing that you decided over the couple of weeks, not exactly a day.
Right.
But for a lot of listeners who might be listening to this and they also want to get out of the 9 to 5 kind of rut.
Correct.
So what things led you to eventually give up that job and give you such kind of braveness, so to
Yeah.
speak?
Yeah.
That you were able to switch out of it, and because not a lot of people are like having such resources to not do the job to get the money from there, and eventually moved to the passion. So was there any passion involved for you as well? Because probably you might have the money, but there should be some reason for you to switch out of it and do something else which you really like, right?
Right. So it was. I was just coming to that. It was one of the most difficult decisions of my life, and it was in a way a little, not very well planned. Because I really wouldn't encourage somebody to just give up the job.
Yeah.
But you gradually grow out of it once your passion takes over, and once you can start making a living out of your passion.
Yeah.
The thing is, you have to make time for it. You have to make time for your passion. And a lot of people I know, they all want to, they tell me, okay, if I wouldn't be doing this job, I'd be doing this. But it doesn't work that way. If you're passionate about it, you are already supposed to be doing what you want to do.
Of course.
And you can't be like, if I didn't have this job, if I had the money, I would, just leave the job and do something else. It doesn't work that way. And then you just someday start blaming luck. You don't have to blame your job. You don't have to give up the job completely. You just start working on your passions. And when I was in Germany, I was trying to write a lot. I was trying to write to vent out my frustration. And
wow.
I did a lot of writing, and obviously I wasn't making money out of that.
But you're having fun writing that, right?
Yes.
Some frustration might be out, but eventually you were writing some kind of stories there as well.
Yes. So, mostly something like a diary.
Yeah.
That made me think better. It made me feel better because I was mostly very lonely there because I didn't have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
The other thing was, I was talking about the fact that it's not, you can't just give up a job and jump into your passion or blame the job for keeping you away from your passion. If you are true to yourself and if you really want that thing to happen, you should have started already along with the job. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
And because that does involve a lot of hard work, right? You have to make time for it, which means you probably get lesser amount of sleep. You have to compromise on your social activities.
Yeah, of course.
That goes without saying, and people don't want to do that, and then they blame the job for keeping them away from their passion. So I think they're not passionate enough, or they like the money a lot more than they like their passion. So I think it's either one of those. And a lot of people say, okay, I don't need so much money, and I'd be willing to settle for something lesser and follow my passion.
Yeah.
But they don't really mean it. Because like I said, it was the hardest decision of my life to move away from a European salary and go to
India in a village and live there.
Yes, and you can imagine what kind of money I would earn if, I was in a small village.
Yeah.
So it was obviously a huge difference, and a lot of people don't want to, they say they want to, but they don't really mean it, and they don't really want to, settle for something lesser and follow a passion. So I think the problem is with us, and if we can solve that problem, then...
Yeah, there should be a driving force which actually can keep you awake in nights, not literally, but essentially. So if you really want to write, or maybe you want to paint or something like that, any of your passion you have, so you have to be consistent with it, and you have to put in the time, put in the effort on every day basis, or every week you have to put your work out to expose yourself. And just from the first hand experience also, I'm doing a full-time job right now, but podcast and blogging and like creating videos or content creation overall, so that is kind of my passion and where I feel I should be doing better. So every day I'm doing something for that, and every week I'm trying to put out a podcast. So from that perspective also I can say, you are truly speaking, people don't actually realize that they are not putting their passion above than their money.
And this is essentially why I'm having this conversation with you, because the first time we met, I saw that passion in you to go out on a Sunday morning and not let sleep or the rain or the travel be more difficult than your passion. And you put your passion first, and in spite of having a 9 to 5 job, you're trying to make time for this using your own resources.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing, and that's how I like to meet such inspiring people like you, because they inspire me to keep going.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm inspired by you also and your
Yeah.
writing.
Thank you so much. I
Of
think
course.
it always works both ways.
Yeah, true. And as I was also talking about your engineering, can you also put some perspective on what are you doing with your engineering skills right now?
So I think like all engineers would agree with this, that engineering is done so you know what you don't want to do.
What not to do exactly?
Yeah, exactly. No, jokes apart. So when I decided to move back from Germany, I had this vague idea of what I would fall back on,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my so my father and my uncle were running this age-old business and manufacturing steel castings.
Steel castings.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was a foundry, and I mean, it was a declining business, and they were hardly making a lot of money. And I, with all my engineering skills, decided to, land up in such a business, or a soup, if you can call it. So that was a big decision for me, but I was willing to settle for that, for the,
For the
for
greater
the-
good.
yeah, you can say that, because I would, in that particular place, get time for my passions and what I really want to do.
So it was also like in a similar way, you were doing something with your engineering skills and as well earn money and
Yes.
side by side do your passion as well.
Yes, yes, right. So
Mhm.
I was working with a family business, and that gave me time to work a little more on my passions and my like what really mattered to me in life.
Mhm.
And that's how I currently put my engineering skills to use.
Wow, that's amazing. And dialing back a little, as you spent your childhood in your father's farm, as you mentioned earlier,
Right.
so can you talk more about how your family nurtured you and influenced you to become the person you are today?
I think everything that I am today, it's because of my upbringing, and I'm, beyond grateful for how I have been brought up by my parents. It's all about the circumstances, right? I mean, it's kind of how you've grown up, and I was extremely lucky to have been in this beautiful place surrounded by nature, and brought up by such amazing parents. I think everything that I have done so far, whatever little successes I've had, it's all because of the kind of upbringing that I've had. So, and I really can't take any amount of credit. Like, I just can't take credit for even the book that I've written, because it isn't me who's written it, it's nature who's inspired it, and I've just been an instrument in the process. And
Wow.
it's just come that way.
Do you believe in muse? Writers talk about the muse, like as you mentioned, nature is the force and you are just the instrument.
Yes, that is the only thing I believe in, actually.
Wow.
Because I think I wanted to be a writer, but it's not that I have, and I have made a lot of attempt to try and write, but it wasn't until I was inspired by nature, running, a lot of other factors, the way I've grown up, the people around me. I've always grown up in a very spiritual environment. We have an ashram on the farm, and that ashram was built in the memory of our religious guru.
Yeah.
She's Padma Ma. We call her Ma. Like
Padma Ma.
Yeah.
Okay.
We call her Ma, like mother.
Mhm.
And this ashram was built in her memory, and that's where I've grown up. And so we always had spiritual people who were a part of my childhood. They used to come and visit the place, and the entire environment was so spiritual. And for me, being spiritual has nothing to do with being religious.
Mhm.
It's not about following a religion, being a Hindu, or going to a temple, because I don't remember the last time I went to a temple.
Wow.
It's just about being
in the state of mind.
Yes, it's more related to your own spirit, right? I mean, being spiritual is
Yeah,
and
literally.
yeah, and being aware about your actions, and I think it's the entire environment which played a role in my upbringing, which got me, to do whatever I did, got me to take the decisions that I made in life, and there's not one thing that I'm not thankful about, right from being very little and running around on the fields to my mother taking me and my sister to swimming classes, and that's
Yeah.
where I sort of fell in love with sport. And then as I grew up a little in school, I moved to football, which was a newfound love back then. And after college, when I moved back to the farm, I always, it was because of my mom that I was such a sportive person, and I always wanted to continue with sports, but all of my friends had left the countryside. Then they'd moved to bigger cities, so it was difficult to form a football team, right? You
Yeah.
need a team to play football, and so I took up running then, and because I just wanted to, and running is it's a solo sport, so you can just
Right.
do it anywhere. You don't need somebody for it. And the roads, the country roads, they were always
Empty.
empty and inviting and never ending, so you could just go on, and that's when I just took up the sport. And yeah, so that's how my upbringing has been, and it's shaped everything that has become of me today.
Wow, that's amazing. And that is very powerful thing which you said, even just to realize that spiritualism is not exactly as being in a religion, following
Right.
a religion.
Right.
So people, any number of people I meet these days, they are not clear about that part itself. They correlate spiritualism with religion.
Right.
They conjugate with each other, but they are actually isolated as well.
Right.
Because you can be spiritual, as you said, without
Correct.
following a religion,
Correct.
or maybe not following exactly as well. So I think that's a very powerful thing, and people should realize that spiritualism is just realizing your inner voice and knowing
Yes.
what is in your own heart, and
Yeah.
like being aware of that voice.
Correct.
I think.
So I think there are like hundreds of religions which are paths which probably make you a little more spiritual and make you listen to that voice.
Exactly.
Or you could just find your own path and make your own religion and be spiritual.
True.
But I think essentially, if you are not paying attention to spirituality in your life, you're just absolutely wasting your life, because finally that is what life is about. Until what point of time are you going to keep making millions and millions and keep living this sort of
Hypocrite life.
and the drama that we have made life to be.
Yeah.
It's so spirituality is, for me, it's mostly looking beyond a lot of these things, and I'm hardly there, because I'm just not even a beginner, and there's a long way to go, but I'm happy that I am at least on this journey, and I'm sure it will be a very fulfilling journey.
Yeah.
And that's where I intend to be for the rest of my life.
Wow. And I think, as you said, for the rest of your life, so I think spiritualism is not like, it's not like having a goal, but it's the journey itself.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is spiritualism.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. And as you have launched your book earlier this year, so can you talk a little bit more about that? How did you get it published, basically? So you write the stories, your friends like influenced you as well, that you should write these stories which you are telling us,
Right.
and you wrote those stories as well. But then how one person get to launch their book or publish their book through an agency or maybe a press?
It was really a magical journey for me, because when I started writing, when I was writing the first story, it was that at that time I obviously had no clue that this would become a book. And I was just doing it because it made me happy. I was just writing because it made me think in a better way. It made me a more grateful person. And yeah, essentially it was because once I had the story in front of me and I would just read it all over again, and I would love the feeling that, it's something that I wanted to write about, and I've written it. And
I
that's-
think the way you have mentioned that I reread the story which you have just wrote and I felt really good about it.
yeah.
So that is what matters actually, first of all, that
Yeah.
whenever you are creating something, anything, any piece of content
Right.
or any maybe writing or maybe painting, so if you yourself are able to feel that art
Right.
and feel good about it, I think then most of the people will.
Yes, I think that is essentially what the aim should be. I think a lot of content producers today, they focus on the audience first, which is, I mean, they've lost the battle there itself. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to get to like your creation first. It should be for yourself, and then that's, I think, how it should be.
Right.
So when I was writing the first story, I had absolutely no idea it would become a book, and I was just writing it because it made me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I began to share it with a couple of friends and, close friends who I could fall back on for feedback and for honest opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And when I reached a point of time when I began to think of it as a book writing project, after a point of time, I did have to make some sort of effort to at least sit down and, start writing, because, I mean, there always has to be some effort from your side. And again, so the inspiration luckily kept on flowing and I kept on writing. And once I was done with the manuscript,
Mhm.
I still had absolutely no idea how to go
Publish
about
the book.
publishing the book, because this is not, I mean, I was not trained for it, right? I was
Yeah.
supposed to become an engineer, which I did, but I had no clue absolutely whatsoever how this should become a book. So I started, I mean, thanks to the internet, I had a lot of resources that are available to everybody for free. So I looked up the internet, and there were different ways to get published, and I began to read up everything possible. And I think I was already at a point when I was thinking that I definitely want this to become a book. So by the time I was writing for the book, I was clear in my head that I really want this book to be published. So I was I used to sit for hours and hours and try to find a way, and it didn't really feel like work at all, because I was just doing something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That was the best part about all of these researches on the internet and stuff like that. And then finally, so I decided to go through an agent. There were people who said you don't need an agent, a literary agent, and there were people who said it's always good to have a literary agent. And so I decided, okay, I'll go with a literary agent, and I sent my manuscript to a couple of Indian literary agents.
Mm-hmm.
I think I must have sent about 35 emails or so.
Wow.
Like 35 different places. And I got response from 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they liked my manuscript and they would like to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I, chose one of them. And all through the while, I was noticing things were sort of just falling into place. The right kind of people were coming to me, and it wasn't like I was stuck at any point of time.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I felt stuck, something or the others, I would meet somebody, or I would just happen to, browse on the net and find a YouTube video which would somehow,
Teach you the thing you
yes,
wanted to
it
know.
was just, I mean, it sounds surreal, but that was how it was.
Universe tries to like put things together.
Probably works, yeah. So what happened was I was still trying to figure out what literary agent to go with, and then I was just trying to be in touch with the literary world. So I was just trying to go to literature fests that keep happening
Mm-hmm.
with absolutely no idea what one is supposed to do there. So most of the literary fests were in big cities. So if they were in Bombay, I would be able to go there. But traveling all the way to a different city, that would be too much expense and too much
Yeah,
time. So
yeah.
I tried to stick to Bombay and around.
Mm-hmm.
So just one weekend, one day I just happened to read about this literature festival in Lonavala,
Mm-hmm.
and I told one friend of mine, I don't know what we'll do there, but let's just go,
Yeah.
because we can just go there for the weekend and attend the literary fest, and if not, we'll just enjoy it was during August or something, so it was raining, and it was beautiful. Lonavala is a nice place to be in
Yeah.
the monsoon, so I thought we'll just enjoy a weekend and we come back.
Yeah.
And so I just happened to go there, and I just happened to meet my current literary agent there. So
Wow.
that's how it happened. The person I signed up with, I met that person at the Lonavala Lit Fest.
So you earlier mentioned that you sent 35 emails. Two
Right.
of them replied back that you
Right.
would like to work with them. So was those agents not in the process
No,
right now?
so one of the agents I happened to meet, I was still contemplating which agent to go with.
Okay, so you were not fixed on those agents
Yes,
yet.
yes. And I had absolutely no idea, because, an agent is supposed to help you get to a publisher, but who's supposed to help you get to an agent, right? You do that by
Yeah.
yourself. You just have to rely on your intuitions and,
Wow.
your research. So I was really not very sure about what agent to go with. And I didn't want to make any wrong choice, because they say agents are like your partners for the entire career, of the entire writing career.
Mhm.
So I didn't want to. I wanted to, be very sure about the agent I decided
It's
to
like
go with.
marrying
Yeah,
someone.
in a way, yes. So I was really. So that was one point where I was stuck, and then I just happened to visit this literature fest, and I happened to meet that person, and I just knew, okay, it has to be this person. So I signed up with the person who is now my literary agent.
Wow.
So then, with the literary agent, we sent the manuscript out to prospective publishers,
Mm-hmm.
and we got a good response from Penguin and Jayco. I was really delighted to, hear a positive response from them. But eventually, we decided to sign up with Tree Shade Books, because they had better terms. And actually, Penguin didn't really agree to to signing me up, because they want big names.
Yeah.
They are a big publishing house,
Right.
and they want famous people, or people who've already published books further, who already have a huge audience base.
But don't they have, every publisher I think now have a separate small sister publishing firm which is like for the new authors or something like that. I'm just
Right.
trying to check.
Penguin does have a lot of those,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they all fall into the same set of rules which the company lays. Author should have a good enough audience
Repute or
base.
something like
Yeah,
that.
good. And I was neither famous nor did I have an
Yeah.
audience base.
It's like starting
And-
from the scratch.
Yes, and
Literally.
yes, and so then we got another offer from Tree Shade Books, which is my current publisher, and then
It's based in Bombay.
they have their head office in Delhi,
Mm-hmm.
but they do have their distribution offices all over India. So
Wow.
I think they're doing a good job. And so then we signed up with Tree Shade Books, and yes, that was
Wow.
how the journey was.
I just want to ask you one more thing in the process. As you mentioned, you like tried to research your way to get to a literary agent.
Mhm.
So, are there any resources you would like to mention if a first-time author would like to reach out to an agent? So, they should just go to a lit fest, or are there any other resources which you would like to mention which might have helped you out?
Right. So I think the best kind of advice I would give is, which is a little vague, but is to really want it. Right. If you really want it, it's going to happen. So that's one beautiful thing that will just somehow happen
Keep
in
trying.
your life. Yeah. And to be a little more realistic, I I would love to help any aspiring author. In fact, there is a club in Bandra
Mm-hmm.
that wants me to do a workshop on getting published in India
Wow.
and share my experiences and my resources. So we're planning on doing something like that. So I think a lot of aspiring authors, aspiring writers, authors would benefit from that.
I think, yeah, that's a realistic thing as you mentioned. But I think one more thing which you can do is probably create a digital course or maybe a video as well,
Right.
which can benefit, I mean, millions of people if you can put it out in the
Right.
internet or interwebs.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can work on that. So some young author in some corner of the world, if he gets stuck and just happens to open the video, that'll be the way for him. So yeah, I'll work on something like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one more thing I would like to ask you, is there any audio version also for the book as of now, or are you working on something like that?
No, we haven't yet, put out an audio version. It probably could happen sometime soon. In fact, I was, in touch with an organization from the south. I think they're based in Cochin or Coimbatore, I'm not sure. It's an organization for blind people, and they really wanted that the book be converted to an audio version because that would really
Yeah.
help the blind people. Although there are a lot of apps which you can just install and have the computer, the robot read it out.
Read
to
it
you.
out. But that's not the way, I think. Why I'm mentioning that is because I am from the audio world
Right.
and I love to do podcast and I love to listen to audiobooks as well.
Right.
One such app is Audible,
Correct.
which has been acquired by Amazon
Right.
some years ago. And I've been listening to audiobooks since I don't know how many years, 5-6
Right.
years maybe.
Right.
And the audio experience when not a robotic voice but the actual
Yes,
voice
yes.
of the narrator.
Yes.
And most likely the author should read that book because
Correct.
as you have written the book from the first person view, so if you are able to portray that in audio mode, it's
Yes.
amazing what wonders it can do. It can actually take the people who are not much visual themselves into that kind of
An environment.
visualization.
Correct,
So
correct.
that's amazing.
Yes. Obviously, when you write a book, it's all about the feelings.
Yeah.
You can't really have a robot read it out to you.
Yeah, exactly.
You can probably, hear it, but it's not going to be as influencing as the
Human.
Correct. So I'm open to such progress.
Yeah, I think if you want, I can also help you out in putting out
That'll
the
be really
audiobook.
nice. Yeah.
We can, record the book and put it out on Audible as well. It is the best platform.
Right. Audible is really, catching up in India as well
Yeah.
now. I've heard a lot of people using that, during the commutes because you can't really read a book during
Yeah.
the commutes, but you can listen to an audio
Listen
book.
to an audiobook.
Sure, let's plan something like this.
Yeah, awesome. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Wow. And moving on from this topic and getting a segue into your personal life on a day-to-day basis life. So what your typical day look like these days?
So,
There is a before and after of being an author, right?
Currently, yes, because I've been traveling a lot and doing a lot of events for the book. But my typical day on the farm is what my typical day is like and what I would always wanted to be like.
Yeah.
So my typical day on the farm is waking up anytime between 4:30.
Oh my God.
And and so I have a morning routine which I'm very firm about. It's not that I have to be firm, but I just like it to be that way. So I wake up between 4 to 4:30 and I go through a routine which involves first meditation,
Mm-hmm.
second pranayam,
Wow.
and then I head out for my run, which could be between an hour or between 1 to 2 hours. And then I'm back and a quick snack. That is when so like I said, we live on the ashram and we have a lot of spiritual practices that we do as a family.
Yeah.
So the entire family comes together and we carry out these spiritual activities in the morning, followed by breakfast together. I think
What kind of spiritual activities? I mean, are there prayers to be said?
yes. So my mother, she does puja and she says prayers and we do aarti like a typical Hindu family would ideally do. And then there is yoga and meditation that we also have made a part of in the family. So that's what we do together. And then breakfast, I think a lot of how I've been molded is mainly also because we've lived together in the family and done a lot of things together in the family, be it a simple meal or such spiritual activities together. And that is one thing that I attribute a lot of things in my life to. So then we have breakfast, and then I'm either on the fields, on the farm, because we grow mangoes and coconuts
Mangoes,
commercially.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, we have about 2,000 mango trees and 2,000 coconut trees.
Wow,
So
that's
we do that
massive.
commercially,
Mhm.
and so that needs to be taken care of. I mean, some management work that needs to be done there, and then I need to be on the factory where we manufacture these steel castings.
Okay.
In between somewhere, I find whenever possible, I find time to write.
So you write in office as well. So
Yes.
you have made a room or something like that to sit out and
No,
write.
I would ideally, want that, but I write on the go. I mean, sometimes I'm scribbling in a notepad, or I am writing down ideas on my mobile phone.
So do you carry a pocket book or something like that?
No, I usually, if I am out and I want to write something, if I have some ideas, I just note it down on my mobile on a
That's convenient.
yeah. And when I'm at home, I'm usually writing, either in a notebook or on the laptop. It depends.
So like from there you are finding time to write, and then you are in the factory. So like what after that? In the evening you
So so then lunch, and I'm a firm believer in napping in the afternoon.
wow, nice.
So afternoon nap is always the best, and so I nap for a bit in the afternoon, and then followed by it's a very irregular day that usually spans out only once you are in the day, so you can't really plan an entire day forward,
Right,
because
right.
it's not something that you have to keep doing. It's not like a set pattern ever. I think that's the fun part, right?
Yeah,
you don't
and
really
the
have,
uncertainty.
correct. You don't really have a plan in front of you, but you just see how the day,
Yeah.
spans out. And so there could be times when I have to, visit urgently. I mean, rush to the farm because probably some thieves have entered somewhere and they need to be
that
driven
happens?
out. Yeah, all the time.
Wow.
Or if everything is calm and everything is okay, then I'm sitting and writing. Or so the good part is the farm, the factory, the ashram, and our house. Everything is on the same piece of land.
Wow.
So that's
So you don't have to commute.
yeah. I think that's one big blessing that I have. And so evenings. So once all of the workers are done for the day, farm workers have after 5 they don't work anymore, and then I usually go out for a walk with my mom, and or it could be a run, or she cycles and I walk, or something like that. And post that we have dinner, and ideally before sleeping I tend to meditate a little bit, because I find myself sleeping much better, waking up much fresher if I've meditated the previous night. So I do that, and then I'm in bed.
Wow. Like down by 9:30 or maybe around that time, right?
Yeah, around that time.
So you avoid screens or mobile phones like around that time?
Yes. So I never watch TV because I think not that I have something against TV, but I really don't have the time to. I mean, it's better to just take a walk in the farm than watch TV. And in
But then,
fact,
how do you get a feed of news from around the world and what is happening?
yeah. So I do, go through the newspapers a little bit. So that's
Uh-huh.
how, and then I I try to keep away from social media as much as possible. In fact, I just had just 2 weeks back, my Facebook and Instagram accounts got hacked,
Yeah,
and
I was about to ask you that. One day, one fine day, I was like going through my feed and I thought to check the messages which were going on between me
right,
and you,
right.
and I saw where is this
Yeah,
profile,
yeah.
and
So
the profile was gone.
it was gone. It was deleted, and in fact, uh, the 5 a.m. guy page on Facebook was restored by them,
Uh-huh.
but my profile is still hacked. I mean, it's been disabled by Facebook itself.
Oh,
In
it,
fact, even my Instagram profile was hacked a couple of weeks back, and like all of the people who came to know about it were like, "Oh my God! I mean, it's such a disaster, and it must be such a shock." And in fact, I was feeling so liberated, and I was like, "Okay, this is good. I mean, it's like a good sign, and I'll just keep away from social media, and it's going to give me a lot more time for things which
yeah.
really matter to me." So eventually, the Instagram profile was restored, and these are the kinds of evils that you have to be with,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, obviously, if I want my writing to touch lives,
Yeah.
it has to reach people and it has to be seen.
It is the necessary evil, as you said,
Right.
because through social media and the internet itself, you can reach like millions of people. Otherwise,
Yes.
from the word of mouth, you cannot.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, even though I want to keep away from, so I mean, I'm totally off Facebook because it's gone and I'm really happy about it.
Yeah.
And I spend absolutely, no time on scrolling through Instagram profiles and all of those things. And I'm happy that I, don't have to do that. I'm not addicted to doing such a thing. And so, I usually am in front of the screen very little, lesser than an hour put together, including all of the work that needs to be done for the book. And
Okay, so you most likely write on notepads and stuff.
yes, because oh, you mean a physical notepad?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it on physical notepad, and uh, a lot of ideas go on the physical notepad. If I'm sure about what I'm writing,
Yeah.
it's usually on the laptop because it's much easier to.
Yeah, because you need to do some research as well alongside
Correct,
that. Yeah.
correct, yes.
Wow. Awesome. And as you described your typical day, so how do you plan your meals? Like because you are a runner and you know the value of nutrition, right?
Right.
So how do you plan your meals and what kind of things you eat throughout the day? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so diet for me is it's not really a diet. I tend to eat when I'm really hungry, and it's always this fight between the mind and temptation.
Yeah.
So I just, even when I'm snacking, I just try to stick to foods which make sense to me, foods that I understand. Like for example, when you just get something from the market, something that's packaged, you don't really know what has gone into the food. And when you just peel open a banana, you know it's a banana and you're eating a banana. So I try to stick to foods which I understand, and foods that are whole foods mostly.
Mm-hmm.
A
Not
lot of
processed foods.
Yes, a lot of fruits and vegetables, because we grow our own fruits and vegetables right on the farm. We don't
Yeah.
need to buy them from outside,
Yeah.
and that's one.
So it's mostly organic which
Yes,
you're eating.
yes, it's always organic, and that's a huge blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, I eat what I feel is good and light. So you when you eat something, even though you really want it and you say this is, I mean, it's really good, but deep in your heart, whether it's healthy for you. If you feel good eating it,
Yeah.
And it's all about listening to that, voice
Inner
deep
voice.
inside,
Yeah.
and that'll just decide your diet for you. And I try to eat long before I go to bed. I think that's one thing.
Early dinner.
Yeah, a very early dinner, like usually latest by 6.
Wow.
So that's one thing that's just one rule that I follow. And there are no other rules. It's just listening to what the body tells you,
Wow, that's amazing.
and try not listening to what the mind is telling you.
Yeah, mind is always going for the cravings.
Yeah, yeah. So I try. I mean, I do give in to cravings once in a while, and that's,
Cheat days.
yeah, that's always okay. But as far as, because I'm not like a perfect eater or a perfect nutritionalist, but I just try to be more towards the
More conscious about what your body is telling you.
Yes.
Wow. And as you mentioned earlier about meditation, so are there any specific kind of meditations you do in the morning and in the night itself, or are they just like breathing exercises? Can you share a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So I think meditation is something that I have really started loving, because it gives me a kind of experience which is very difficult to put into words. The best kind of meditation practice that I am currently following, I'm always evolving, because I'm always trying out different meditation ways and techniques, and there are tons of them on the internet. But essentially it's all about being aware about yourself, about what your thoughts are. It's not about thinking in some particular way or trying to focus on something. It's just being very natural and letting the thoughts flow, letting your breath take its own course, and just observing. I think meditation is all about observing what you feel. So yeah, I was telling you about this best meditation practice that I follow currently. It's about looking at yourself from a third person's point of view.
Wow.
It's like as if I'm just sitting here and recording this podcast with you, but I'm looking at myself from here, like from somebody.
From a bird's eye view.
Yes, right. So I can see myself sitting with you recording.
Wow.
I can see the drama that's playing out.
Yeah.
So I think that particular practice, what it does is it makes you look, like you said, look at yourself from a bird's eye point of view. And when you look at yourself from that angle, everything that goes on in your life, be it a problem or be it a happy moment, or all these ups and downs that you see in life, they just seem so small and so insignificant and so tiny.
Minutiae.
Yeah. and it really is interesting to see how the problems that you thought were really big, they are like just
Nothing.
so small. I mean, it's very difficult to explain it, but that's how you, if not forever, you feel that way, at least for a couple of minutes. That really gives you a perspective of what kind of life you're living, and it makes you I think more emotionally stable. So you're not down in the dumps when something goes wrong. You're not just at the top of the world when you are on the top of the world. You feel very balanced, and it's a very fulfilling idea to be that way. It's not about not feeling emotions at all, but about looking at those emotions from a different point of view. And that's very fulfilling and liberating.
Yeah.
And it's very it's like you have control over these emotions, which are like a jail for you.
Most of the time taking over your mind.
Yeah. And that leaves you with a lot of energy to focus on
Things
more,
that actually matter.
yeah, more fulfilling things in life.
Wow. So the same way you told the meditation, which is very visual in practice,
Right.
because only if you are a visual person, you will be able to like get out of your body and see yourself from a bird's eye perspective.
I mean, that and practice. I think even people who are inherently very visual, or so to say, they won't really, I mean, there are times when I can absolutely not, visualize myself sitting there, and
Yeah.
I'm just not in the right state. There are days when it's very difficult. There are days when it just comes naturally.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about
Sitting down
yes,
and practicing it.
yes, absolutely. So I think, first step to meditation is to just sit with your eyes shut. It's so difficult to do that,
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, I wasn't ready to believe that until I tried it out, and a lot of times I just want to open my eyes and just
Do something.
Yeah, and so it's like a challenge just to sit with your eyes shut for 10 minutes, and if you can begin to do that, I think you're meditating already.
Just start small with 5 minutes and
Yeah.
probably go on from there.
Yes, right.
Amazing. And on that perspective, as you said, being aware and being in the moment. So these gadgets these days and the social media, they takes away the awareness and like puts you in a distracted state many a times. But there are a lot of benefits also, as we mentioned, like the social media is the necessary evil. And on the different note, what gadgets or apps which also might be like necessary evil, but still you use on everyday day-to-day basis, which might help your life to get better?
I think for one's life to get better, I think there's absolutely
No gadgets
no
required.
gadgets required, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of a very minimalistic living. I've been trying that since some time now.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of power you feel when you realize you don't need something
Mm-hmm.
is beyond, uh, it's beyond words. You can't really put into words the feeling you get when you decide, okay, I don't need this. So I really don't, to make your life better, I think on the contrary, totally, you need to put away these
These
apps.
gadgets.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really do that because in today's world, that is what you need.
Yeah.
And for your passion to grow, for your, for you to grow in the kind of career that you want to grow in, you do need these things. But then you can always draw a line between being addicted and using them for your benefit, for your inspiration. And yeah, so I think you don't really. There's not one single gadget I can name. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
All right. And are there any failures till now in your life? And any of those failures, it might be like one of your favorite failures, so to speak, which might have been a stepping stone in the success of your journey.
Yes. I mean, there have been failures all my life, and I am really so grateful for all of those events which played out, because it was because of those events, and I never really. You obviously tend to be a little depressed when something doesn't work out,
Yeah.
but when you look, when you've passed that phase and you look back, you realize it was such an important step, and if it wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't, in no circumstance would you have been able to reach where you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if I can think of, okay, so when I was in 6th standard, the idea of first writing a book came to me. I wanted to become a writer, become an author, and that's when I started writing a book that was inspired by James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl. So I'd read that book and I was inspired by it, and I started writing my own novel, which was very amateur, so it didn't really make it beyond my rough book back then. But then
It seeded the
yeah,
idea.
so I think the idea came from there. And then when I was in college, I started writing again. And this time I was really, really, writing hard. I was really firm on finishing a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I started writing a novel, wrote 52 chapters of that particular novel.
52 chapters.
Yes,
Wow.
it was quite a lot. It was about 150 odd pages.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly I lost interest in the book completely. That was a terrible thing to happen, because you can't lose interest in something that you've been working on for so long. It's a disastrous feeling. It's like the worst defeat you can ever face. And that happened. And I realized this is not going to be, this is not really what I want the book to be about. I don't like the plot. The plot is, I don't like the characters anymore. I mean, I just fell out of love. And, it just slipped out. It was a dream which I really wanted. I was looking forward to fulfilling, but it didn't really work out. And so a couple of years after that, this book came out, and I realized what I learned from that particular failure was that I wasn't being myself in the book. My writing, I wasn't doing the writing that, I wasn't really being who I was. I was trying to
Copy someone else, maybe.
Yes, probably not entirely copy, but I was trying to fake feelings, I was trying to fake emotions, and I wasn't writing something that was true to my own heart. And that was the lesson that I really learned. That was probably why it didn't work out, and I'm glad it didn't work out, because if that book would have been published, I wouldn't have, liked to have my name on it. I wouldn't have been able, I wouldn't have liked to own it and call it my book, because it wasn't really my book. It wasn't really my feelings and emotions.
And eventually you didn't like the plot itself,
Yes, right.
So we have spoken earlier, like the things which you create, first of all, you should like that yourself,
Exactly.
right?
Coming back to where we began.
Square one.
So, yeah, so then the book that I wrote, like The Best Life Ever, the kind of happiness I got when I finished that book, when I had the manuscript in front of me, it happened because I was, being true to myself and being true to my feelings and emotions. And that is what really, that's one big lesson which I'd learned from the previous failure. So,
Wow. This is the third book probably you've written, right? But the earlier two were not realized.
Yes, if you count those two, yeah, the third one.
Yeah. So you learn from your mistakes, and then you step into another stone, and then there is the success.
Yes. So I think, it's always advisable. I won't really call it an advice, but people say, and it's again very cliched, that you should look at failures like, they are something to help you. And it's not just that. Look at the entire flow of life, every single event which happens in life, as something that is taking you forward, something that is helping you become who you want to be. Even if it's just, it's not necessarily failure. It could be an hour or two which you thought could have been used in a more productive way, but somehow the circumstances were such that you happen to, spend 1 hour at the bus stop and just waste your entire hour. And you think, you're just in a bad mood because you just had to do that. It was raining and you couldn't, do anything else. If you use that, I mean, even such an experience can inspire you in some way later in life. And if you take it positively and, consider every single event, good or bad or neutral in your life, and take it as something that is taking you forward to where you want to be, then it definitely will. It will turn out to be that way. And you look back and thank that little thing that happened in your life.
Yeah, as exactly as you mentioned about like being on the bus stop, I recollect a very recent story. There is an article which I wrote some time ago on depression actually and anxiety. And I feel very close to that topic because I've been through a bout of anxiety. And as you mentioned, it's not a failure. I mean, it's just about the perspective. One fine day, I was like coming from the office, and I parked my vehicle in the parking lot, and I was just waiting there to rain to stop so that I can go home from there. And it never stopped raining, and I thought, what should I do now, because there is a lot of traffic and there is a lot of rain which is pouring in. So I just stopped at the nearby McDonald's, and I sat there and I opened my laptop and I started writing that article, which is like trying to come out from a long time.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
I wrote like almost 1500 words.
Wow.
It's a long article.
Wow.
and it turns out to be really good. And it was from that moment that I can, yeah, I can totally relate to you that
Right.
as you would like to use your time, it's totally up to you. The
Correct.
failures, restrictions, which like I couldn't go home, so
Hmm.
I tried to like make use out of that time. So
Right.
that's
Right.
what you have to do,
Yeah.
of
So,
course.
my principle in life is always this, either you win or you write.
Wow,
So it's always that
that
way,
that
if
should
you
be a quote.
yeah, so either something good is happening or if something bad happens, you're gonna, later write about it
You have
and
to write about it.
yeah.
Amazing. And coming to another crucial question, can you name one person who has been a mentor to you, or maybe who has had a big impact on your life? He might not be like first person in your life, maybe a third person who you just are inspired from.
I think you're supposed to meet somebody. I mean, everybody comes in your life for a particular reason, and it's up to you whether or not to seek inspiration from that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really, know if it really works that way, but I do believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
The universe sends people to you for a reason. You meet people for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and they are meant to inspire you. So, like, I happened to meet you, and I got inspired by you, and
Wow.
that's how we're spending time together right now.
Yeah.
I think every single person who I meet, I don't really learn from everyone because it's beyond me to really look into that, the reason why the person is, meeting me right there. But someday I hope to, find inspiration and make everyone around me a role model because that's what this nature, what this universe intends.
So, like, make everyone around you a mentor, seek
Yes.
inspiration from them, right?
Yes, yes. Not just everyone, but everything, every
Mm-hmm.
object. Yes.
Wow. Like, first of all, you have to observe for that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I think it's all about how observant you are, and there's everything that you need to be who you want to
Mm-hmm.
be where you want to be. You just have to be ready to observe and learn from it and make your way.
Amazing. And coming to another fun question, what under 5,000 rupees purchase you have made recently, which changed your life in a better way?
Okay. What really changed my life under 5,000 would be a pair of shoes and a pen.
Wow,
So
a
a
pair
pair
of
of
shoes and a
shoes,
pen.
yeah. So I mean, because running and writing are two things which really changed my life. They've made me a much better human being. I think I would like to call myself a better human being from what I was,
Mm-hmm.
and a much more grateful person. I think life is much better after a run or after a good session of writing.
Mm-hmm.
You Because I think running is a very meditative sport. You have, especially when you're running in the countryside, when
In
there's no
nature.
distractions, in
Yeah.
nature, you just have the road and yourself and just trees around you. So you tend to think a lot. You have a lot of thoughts, and you mostly observing those thoughts because it's an hour or two just with yourself, with no distractions. I usually run without my mobile phone, so
Oh, wow.
you're just listening to the rhythm of your breathing or to the sounds around you, and you're thinking, like you're just thinking all the time about looking at the thoughts which come and which
It's
go.
astonishing how your mind doesn't stop and thoughts are
Yes,
flowing
yes,
all the
absolutely,
time.
all the time. And so I think running helped me look at um, thoughts in a much more clear way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people would agree, a lot of writers would agree, when they write something, that is when they actually discover it.
Mm-hmm.
When they write about a particular emotion, that is when they truly begin to understand what that emotion was all about.
Yeah.
So that's how I think running and writing have been two very, I think they are my everything.
So, what are you currently up to, and what is the next challenge or goal you are looking forward to? I mean, currently, of course, you are in the promotion of your book,
Yeah.
ongoing promotion.
That
So,
that takes up quite a lot of time, being at events and promoting the book. Apart from that, I'm as always running and writing because that's oxygen for me. That's my muse. That's my inspiration. That's
Yeah.
my heartbeat and my life.
Mhm.
So I never skip a day without running and without writing a little bit. And for upcoming projects, upcoming book writing projects, I'm waiting for the right kind of inspiration to strike, and I do hope it comes soon, because it's not me again who's writing the book. It's
Yeah.
the inspiration that
It's the muse.
yes. So I'm waiting patiently for it to arrive.
Wow, amazing. And finally, before we wrap up this conversation, any advice you would like to give to first-time authors? Apart from launching the book, like where to start, first of all?
So I think for first-time authors or aspiring writers, aspiring authors, if I were to give them one piece of advice, or one piece of advice, it would be to be yourself, because that is so important when you're writing. And that is one thing that like I said, I learned from that big failure of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people these days, they're trying to be somebody they are not. They're trying to
Yeah.
fake things, and it'll take you some way, but it will never get you happiness, one. And whatever success you get is going to be short-lived. And even if it's not making you happy, is it even success?
Yeah.
So the only piece of advice I can give them is to just be yourself, keep writing, and be patient. This is something
Like
this-
three-part advice.
Yeah.
Be yourself, keep writing, and be patient.
Yes. I think you really need to be very, very patient. It's a very slow blooming, art. Like creativity always is, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes
You have to
it's there,
enjoy
just-
it, and it should be
Yes.
slow,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Right.
So it was great talking to you, Aditya Shroff. Since we talked first till now, I've learned a lot about you, and we sort of became friends.
Right.
And I'm really happy for you that you have launched your book and like on the way to success,
Right,
already a bestseller. Anything you would like to mention about your book? Like where can people get it? The Best Life Ever.
Yeah, so everybody can live the best life ever. So this book is essentially a collection of short stories that are based on my experiences growing up on a farm, running around on the farm, about the relationships and the experiences that I happen to live through, and life lessons from each of them. So this book is available on Amazon. It's available on my website as well. You can purchase an author-signed copy on the website. That's the5amguy.com.
Mm-hmm.
And it's available on Amazon. They have some good discount. You find it in most retail bookstores like Crosswords and Oxford and
Wow.
such.
Awesome. And any links you would like to mention? Where can people reach you if they would like?
I try to respond as much as possible. It could probably send me a message on Instagram. That's the 5 a.m. guy is my Instagram handle.
Yeah, everywhere the 5 a.m. guy.
Yeah, you just try to. You can send me a message on the 5 a.m. guy, and I'll do my best to respond to it.
Awesome. So all the good stuff and all these links and things I'll mention in the show notes of this episode. And thanks for taking the time, Aditya. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, because it's always a pleasure talking to somebody who's just as passionate as you are, and passionate in the real sense. And I really enjoyed this conversation, just like I enjoyed the first conversation we had, at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
And I really look forward to interacting more with you and doing projects together. It'll be really good.
Yeah, I
Great.
think on the audiobook we have to
we
collaborate.
can do that. Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely. Great. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Hey guys, this is Himanshu again. Now, before you move on, here's something I want to share with you. I have one weekly newsletter which is called Saturday Pentacle. You can think of it as a weekly one-page magazine for the curious minds where you'll find 5 awesome things which I've been pondering on in the last week. It may contain popular articles, blogs, photographs, Instagram posts, books, videos, products, or thoughts. It's completely free. If you want to get it, just go to himanshusachdeva.com. That's my name, himanshusachdeva.com, and drop in your email. You'll get the very next one. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for listening.